Hello traders, Nick Shaheen here looking at Canopy growth, more so of a lesson than what to do from here with it. It's more of what not to do next time, or just add another tool to the tool belt with regards to trading. A lot of people still ignore the technicals, and I don't know why. If what they say is true, that 80% of all trading is done by machines, well, they only use technicals to trade those machines. So anyway, good job if you're long the stock. Well, if you were long the stock and wrote it up to 55 plus. And this is a daily chart. And up here, I'm sure somebody was sitting on a lot of winnings that thought to themselves, oh, it's going to go higher. I'm going to stay in at full bore. They didn't trim, they didn't lock, they didn't spread, they didn't buy puts to protect or anything. Mistake, clearly, because it's down about 30% eyeball from that high. In 2 days, in mere hours, basically. Another person was probably thinking, oh my gosh, I need to chase it, and they bought it somewhere up here, and now they're stuck with a 30% loss, 20% loss, whatever it is. And all this is avoidable. I can't tell you, like if somebody asked me yesterday, hey, what about, actually they did in the chat room, and we discussed it and other pot stocks. What about this? What about that? And I was like, I don't know what you're asking me here. Are you asking me if this is a good time to buy? Clearly, this is not an obvious place to buy yesterday. Today, not still obvious, but definitely better than yesterday. Technically, I wanted to come down to 37.50, 35-ish. From this chart alone, I could find finer levels if I delved in, but the point of this video is how to avoid this. How to avoid chasing. Anytime, it's human nature to chase. This FOMO is what keeps us alive in the wild. If you see a herd of people running out of something, you don't run into it. The instinct is to turn around and book it. Same thing. It works bad for us in the stock market. We chase, and if we're late, we get stuck with a bag. So how could I avoid this? Well, zoom out. 1 day chart. When this is like this and I have no reference, I want to see more. So I just go to a weekly chart. Boom, I got my answer. No, don't start. Why? 4 weekly fails. 5, 6 if you want to count these two. You were in that zone. Clearly a place to book, not start. Good job if you're along from here, the breakouts. I believe I did videos on the breakouts for that, many of them. This was the this was the breakout I shared and over-delivered by a mile. I thought they would stall here a little bit. They did for a little bit, but then they plowed through. I thought they would stall here. That was my target. They plowed through. So clearly if somebody was long and they didn't book it here, then they have ulterior motives. So they want to own it for 16,000 years. And I'm not saying it won't go through that zone, but it's not, it hasn't in the last 4, so 6. My assumption would be it's going to fail again. So if I were to look to start, I would want to chase it after this to prove to me that this time is different. And if I wanted to book, this would be a smart place to lighten up and leave some runners if I was so inclined to stay long the stock. So not to nitpick, to give some clarity to somebody who's involved in the moment. I don't have a trade, so I'm speaking without any emotions at all about it. And if I was here and somebody came to me yesterday and they say, hey, I'm thinking of buying some Canopy or any of the pot stocks, what do you think? I was like, okay, definitely not an obvious place to start. Why? Because I've zoomed out and I saw what happened before. If I wanted to answer from here, I would say I don't know, but it doesn't clearly look like it's a nice place to start. This is rarely a good base for anything. You can't time the tops, but when you've had 4 or 5 or 6 fails before in the same area, then you might hesitate for at least a day. If you hesitated 1 day, you avoided this mess and you got in a lot better. So if you still love the stock, now is a better time. These 2 candles are pretty good. What is this? A daily. So we had 2 days of stalling around 40. So 39, 40 should be your first line of defense. If not, it could slide to 37.50 slightly or 35. That's a clearer zone. So let me see, 2-hour chart. See, it rose so fast that nothing is a good base, you know. It's just one long line. It just makes it hard to find a floor because the machines want something to trade against and they don't have a lot of meat. All right. Good move though. Dang, way to go, Biden.